By the way, actually, here's a graphic of the breakdown of how much these two programs combined will cost. And the $250 rebate, this is before the NDP like made their changes and stuff. So this is under the Liberal Fed's proposal. So if the NDP ends up getting their way and expanding this program, is going to actually be more than that. But as of right now, the GST pause will cost $1.6 billion in missed revenue. And the $250 rebate will be $4.7 billion. So if you combine that, that's $6.3 billion that the Trudeau government is trying to spend. And I believe the deficit last year was around 40 billion. So just to put that into perspective, they're gonna, they're already deficit by 40 billion last year, and then now they're trying to spend $6.3 billion more. Again, I think the GST pause, I like it a lot better than the $250 rebate, and it's much cheaper too. I can see an argument why that would be good, and I love tax cuts. I want to stay consistent on that. So maybe keep the $1.6 billion spend. And it's not the worst way to spend it. But the $250 rebate for $4.7 billion, I'm really questioning the wisdom of that. What do you guys think of the bill, right? Like, we're getting taxpayers, we're getting past the bill for $6.3 billion. Trudeau's having fun at the bar and he's racking up a tab, and then the taxpayer gets the tab at the end of the night, and it's $6.3 billion. Do you think it's worth it?
I don't know. Like, right away, like, I don't think it's like worth it. I think in my mind, right, I think the $250 should be a complete write-off. Like, it should not be even a thing in the first place. And if Trudeau at least is trying to win some votes, like, at least keep the GST, like, or HST, whoever or whichever province you're in the first place. But I think 250 just sounds to me like total money printing, and I feel like I'm personally against that because we're going to reap the benefits, sorry, wrong words. The badness of it down the road, and that's just not too good. And economically, I feel like maybe we would experience the badness of the GST pause too. But 1.6 to 4.7, I think it's, if you do quote unquote quick maths, 1.6 is probably better than the 4.7. So at the very least, if he's still trying to win votes, like, maybe just the GST pause is probably the best idea, because $6.3 billion altogether is really expensive. And I don't think that's good for us as Canadians and the Canadian government.
Yeah, and also I just don't like the idea. I actually like the idea of the GST pause, but I don't like the idea how, like, it's a pause and it's only 2 months, and there's going to be a carbon tax increase in April of 2025, I think. So, they're clearly trying to, like, ease their way into that, right? Because they give you a tax holiday, but then after the tax holiday ends, they jack up another tax. So I think if you really wanted to make a change, if you really wanted to benefit Canadians, you will put forth legislation that permanently gets rid of GST and HST on some items, right? But that's not what the Liberals are suggesting. So they're saying out there, it's like, oh, like, Conservatives voted against this. They're hypocrites because they're all for tax cuts, but apparently they voted against this tax cut. Well, it's like, I see it from the Conservative perspective, and maybe I'm biased on this, but from their perspective, it's like, hey, you're gonna do this tax trick, and you're just gonna suspend it for 2 months, and then you're not actually gonna, make any meaningful change to the tax system afterwards. You're gonna just put it back, right? So I get it from that perspective. It seems like it's done that way just to, like, kind of win votes, as you said, Dom. Yeah, let me actually scroll down to the bottom of the docket. You guys can see a ledger poll, or ledger. I don't know how it's pronounced. I think it's French. But this ledger poll said that the question that was given, and this was given to about 1,500 Canadians, the question that was given was, given the temporary suspended GST and $250 checks, so they combine those two programs together, are you more or less likely to support Trudeau and the Liberals in the next election? So 65% of respondents said that this absolutely does nothing. So they're going to take Trudeau's money, or it's not Trudeau's money, it's our money, but they're going to take the Trudeau stimulus checks and the GST holiday, and they're absolutely going to spend it and take advantage of the holiday. But they're absolutely not going to budge on being willing to vote for Trudeau if they're not in that camp already. So 65%, no change. 22% of people actually said they're less likely to vote for Trudeau after this programs, because I would assume again, I think I'm already in the camp that I'm like not gonna vote for Trudeau no matter what. So I guess like I wasn't part of this poll, but I guess for me it's I would technically fall under no change. But I think for the people that are less likely, I can see where they're coming from, because it's kind of like Trudeau's trying to buy their vote with $250, which they will take, but then they will go out and vote against him because like it just seems like so obvious that he's trying too hard, right? So 22% of people actually became less likely to vote for Trudeau after this program, and only 8% of people that were respondents said they're more likely. So I wanted to get you guys' opinion on this poll to get your response on what you think. And then I have a tweet, but I'll save that for last. And then yeah, that'll be the story. But what do you guys think of the poll?
Yeah, at the end of the day, this is like a ploy to win votes, and I think three of us really know that for a fact, a matter of fact. And does it really change our opinions? Probably not. And I think a lot of people are also feeling the exact same way. I think because JT specifically has a history of doing a lot more bad than good. Like, you know that meme that Andy likes, the Band-Aid's not going to do it on the water tank. It's just not going to cut it out for most Canadians. And like, you're just trying to cover up all the bad, but the bad has been there, and it's been there for a while. So no matter what you do, I think it's like game over, you know. It's like what's that game called, like Soul something, like dead help me out, guys. Yo, what's that, like Dark Eater? No,
Dark
Soul.
Soul?
Thank you. It's like Dark Souls. We just died a billion times. And I was just like, yeah, it's like, what's the point? You're just gonna game over so many times. So, it's not gonna really cut it for most Canadians, and I guess statistically it's showing. So that's the thought here for sure. I can send it over to Tristan if anything.
Yeah, I don't think that it's actually convinced anyone or very many people. I just feel like most people are kind of over Justin already. So I think that's really the problem for him. It's just that there's not much he can do at this point to convince us that he knows what he's doing. He's just kind of run things so poorly the last while, and he hasn't. It's not like we don't have an alternative. And because of that fact, I don't think that this is going to make much of a difference, if at all, to his odds of winning. And as you can see with the poll, it seems like the poll didn't really change many opinions. The people who are less likely are probably the ones who are more concerned about inflation, I suspect, just because they're like, well, this is another way to have more inflation. And the more likely are probably the ones who will benefit the most from it, who are like, oh, look at Trudeau, he's helping out us folks who need help. So, maybe that's, I think that the fact that 65% of them were 65% of respondents were just kind of like, it's fine. I don't care. I'm not going to change my opinion. I'll take the free money. I'll take the tax break, and I will take advantage of them as much as I can. And then I will go vote for whoever the heck I was going to vote for in the first place. And I think that's really pretty telling on how these sort of acts really just don't have the return that the Liberals and the others and other groups who are handing out these sorts of funding in this fashion. They expect it to do a lot more than it ever does. And I think that's really what it comes down to.
I made a post on X where I went a step further, even where I said that not only is this not going to boost the Liberals' numbers, it's actually going to make the situation worse, because the Liberals and Trudeau, with all their political brilliance, has somehow created a situation where they lose no matter what happens with this $250 check program. So they literally created a situation where the outcomes are lose, lose, lose. So let me explain. Okay, so the $250 check that Trudeau is trying to send out to boost his polling numbers has backfired tremendously. At this point, it will actually hurt the Liberals' polls numbers further, no matter what happens. If the plan proceeds as is, it excludes retirees, which is a demographic that tends to turn out overwhelmingly to vote, which the Liberals are somewhat still popular among. In Canada, by the way, this is true, right? A lot of older people that I find actually are very supportive of the Liberals in a normal circumstance, but Trudeau's just pissed them off by excluding them with this $250 check, right? Not that people were like desperate for $250, but it's like if you're going to give everybody else $250, then and you're going to exclude the retirees, they're going to be pissed, right? Trudeau this is what I said in the tweet too. Trudeau could not have done a thing that pisses off seniors more. He's essentially saying, screw you for being retired and not contributing to society, even though you've paid taxes and contributed to society longer than everyone else already. If the NDP gets their way, so this is scenario number 2, where the Liberals cave to their demands for expanding the program to seniors, this means that almost everyone will get a check. Because 90+% of Canadians make less than 150K a year. So this will mean pretty much everyone gets a check. So this kind of stimulus is exactly what caused massive inflation in the first place and will make Canada's economic problems worse just in time for the next election. It is also extremely belittling to voters by implying that a $250 check is going to solve all their problems when Canada's economic problems are systemic and very deep set, that a one-time $250 check won't solve anything. I don't think voters like to have their problems belittled, right? So it's patronizing is what I'm trying to say. Now, if the Liberals cave the other way, so this scenario 3, where they decide not to do the $250 check at all, that's also very bad. People may not believe that $250 is going to solve their problems, but promising it and then backtracking on that promise will definitely piss off a lot of people. It's like your parents promising you to take you to take you to Disneyland when you're a kid, and then they go, psych, never mind. So basically, this $250 check thing, the Liberals have somehow created a situation where for them, the outcomes are lose, lose, lose. They lose no matter what happens from here. So just to get your final thoughts, and then maybe we can wrap up. But what do you guys think of my tweet, what I said? Do you agree, disagree? Just your kind of initial thoughts in general.
Most of what you said is like pretty valid, and I just like the whole Disneyland reference thing. I think that's really funny. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's a voting play, and is it going to work? Probably not. And like what we pretty much mentioned the entire time is, yes, we'll take advantage, but where we're voting is probably going to remain the same. So it is what it is.
I think that you pretty much covered it. I'm pretty aligned on that front. That was there's not much else to be said on this front, because I think we're kind of all aligned on it. It's not really going to be something that helps the Liberals in the long run, because as we've clearly established, it hasn't changed very many people's opinions for pro Trudeau. And since that's the case, this is basically a scenario where they, Andy's got a point that they're kind of set themselves up as a lose, lose, lose at the end of the day. So I think that makes a lot of sense to me. It's just not really. I just don't see it as a super useful plan in the long run. And that I think that's really what it comes down to. It's very short-term thinking, not long-term problem solving.
Now, final question of the night. what are you going to spend your $250 check on? Now, I think we mentioned what we're going to buy for the GST holiday, but assuming this $250 check actually happens, which it might not happen actually if they can't come to an agreement, the Liberals and the NDP, that is. But assuming that it does, and you get the check, and you're probably going to get it in the spring or maybe in the winter, even next year. What are you going to spend the money on?
Anything emissions related. Gas or travel. It's so bad, but yeah, $250, like it's a lot of money, but isn't like a lot at the same time. The PS5s are like $500, and I think Switches are like what, $300, $400 or something. So what are we doing as like 28, 27, 29-year-old adults, almost 30? We're probably gonna spend on like some sort of emission, like Tristan is heating bill, or us and like driving and things like this, or like we want to take that vacation. Where's $250 gonna go? Like, of course, on the vacation, right? So what does that all have? Emissions. So take it as you will. That's most likely what I'm gonna spend it on.
I'm looking at some Wagyu beef that was on sale on Costco a while ago. The website. So apparently it's an online only thing. They don't even have it in store. But yeah, that's probably where the money is going. Or I just buy more Bitcoin. Who knows? But yeah, Dom,
I was gonna say that too, or just buy Bitcoin, for crying out loud, or just like anything. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Tristan, what will you spend your $250 check on?
Probably just gonna buy some Bitcoin or something to that effect. Or it'll just get consumed by the standard expenses of life, right? Heating bills, mortgages, all that stuff, all that fun stuff that uses it costs lots of money. So it won't. I don't really expect to see a tremendous amount of value from it in a specific area. On my front, like it's not like it's going to be like a wow, I've got this one new item thing that is like super cool. It's going to be very much just kind of something that's going into that alleviates some pressure on like ongoing expenses.
Yeah, I mean, $250 is such a random amount. Like it's too small to really be of any significance, but it's also too big to like, just spend on like snacks and random stuff, right? Like you feel like you gotta spend it on something fancy, like you probably go out for dinner or just buy like a piece of Wagyu beef from Costco and just make it at home more. I think something like that is the perfect kind of sweet spot for the money. But yeah, I mean, it's such an awkward amount that I don't know what to do with it. It seems like a waste if I just use it to like pay bills, because like it's like my life doesn't really change, right? If I just use it to pay bills, because I was gonna pay that bill anyways. I don't know. It's weird.